Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video and another gameplay video for you all today. Today's gameplay video is not going to be fun. We ended up playing against an Oldhim and my buddy Matt with our Katsu list. Bottom line, for anyone who knows anything about the game, if you're a new player, maybe you don't know, Oldhim is pretty much an auto loss for Katsu. With two players playing on equal footing that know what they're doing, know the decks, you would have to... Basically, the Oldhim would have to mess up to lose. But we wanted to play it anyway. I was playing with my buddy Matt. It was just a pickup game for fun. I didn't know what he was playing, and I was like, "Hey man, what are you playing?" And I revealed Katsu, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then he revealed Oldhim, and I was like, "You know what? It's fun for people to see like how the matchup goes and like how bad the matchup actually is." So for anyone who's not aware that maybe you're a new player, the reason the matchup is so bad is because Oldhim can just basically turn off your Kodachis, turn off Mask with Crown of Seeds all the time. Plays a lot of like disruption, plays, a very slow methodical game. And it's really hard to push through damage. And you really, honestly, people can talk about pitch stacking or whatever all the time, but you have to basically get lucky to win. So, but we wanted to play it anyway. The one difference I played in this list from my normal list that you see is I took out my 3 snatches and I added in the break tide line, and then I put on Breeze Rider boots, just trying to threaten that pop off turn more. And really try to get lucky with kind of like that, just like non-linear pop-off turn. So for my first turn, I like to go first so he can't arsenal for Crown of Seeds. My goal here is just Kadachi, and then maybe, arsenal a good card and just filter my hand a little bit because I did have a weird hand. So I go ahead and he boxed with a card first, so that showed me they kind of had a bad hand. So once he did that, I just kind of went to, Enlighten Strike for 7. Maybe either at this point, after he's taken that second Gadachi, either he's going to, maybe he has an instant in hand like a Blizzard or something, or maybe just get lucky, right? He has a Blizzard in hand. Maybe he just doesn't have a good blocking hand, whatever it may be, and kind of be able to push through some damage, which is what I did. I dealt 4 damage turn 1. I did let him filter his hand, but at this point, like any time that I can, possibly just push through 5-6 points of damage at any given time, I'm in good shape. So I get an arsenal. He starts his turn, and unless he has something crazy, it's not going to be that big a deal for me. So my goal here is to use my breaking skills, 1 block Battle Worn and my Breeze Rider boots, in order to block some of his hammers with 1 card and then I side in 3 Sink Belows, 2 Command and Conquers, and a Crane Dance, and basically took out all my even bigger than that's. They're almost never going to hit. Or if they do hit, it's going to be very, very unlikely, and I can't be caught with a lot of instants in my hand with his hammer. So ended up taking those out, honestly. So he did use Stalagmite, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting Shield, which is why if I would have known he was going to use Stalagmite, I probably wouldn't have taken out the red even bigger than that. But I didn't know that. But I did Sink Below his hammer, can go through, and I'm going to kind of speed up some of these turns because this is a long game and I don't want y'all to have to sit through the whole entire game. My basic game plan is, since he's not using regular shield and he's using Stalagmite, I'm going to basically try to Kadachi him down while also dealing some kind of off-kiltered attacks like a Torrent Tempo with a Razor or an Enlightened Strike for 7 at the end of a turn, somewhere where I can push through like 4 to 5 points of damage over and over and over. And just try to whittle him down to a point where then I have enough threats in my deck to where I can push it over. So there's going to be a lot, because he's not using the normal shield, there's going to be a lot of Kadachi here because I'm trying to get him to do something. So, and then on turns like this where I have a head jab or a Torrent Tempo or something in hand, I want to get his crown out of the way first, so he actually has to commit a card to block it, which is not ideal for him. I end up Ancestral Empowering this. He takes 1. It's not ideal, but again, it allows me to possibly extend my turn. So we end up Torrent Tempo for 5 here. I could have Kadachi'd there and done 1 more point of damage, and I probably should have. Like, that was a mistake on my part. But I also am threatening Mask here, and I wanted him to have to do something. So he told me this after the game, but not only is he running Oldhim in this matchup, but he's running Oldhim with 11 defense reactions. He has blue unmovables, red unmovables. He has sinks. He has everything. So it's going to be really hard for me to really push through this damage. He kind of just arsenal passes there. Doesn't really do anything. And I start with my Kadachis yet again. Going through the turn here, he crowns the first Kodachi more times than not instead of the second Kodachi. For him, it really doesn't matter. He's going to crown one of the Kodachis. But as you can see, like, I'm not filtering a ton of cards down my deck right now, and I'm dealing like 5-6 points of damage. He hasn't dealt any damage to me. So far, obviously, I'm not in a great place, but I am in a place where, I need to try to push through like 2 to 3, 4, 5 points of damage while also making him basically have to block me completely out. And I'm also trying to bait out his equipment very quickly, which he has Tectonic Plating, Crown of Seeds, Crater Fist, and Ironhide Legs. So he has a lot of good equipment. So he's 2 cards in hand here. I have 2 cards left. I use my Tunic Resource and the one floating to play for Surgeon Strike. So I decided to Arsenal Pass here. He has 2 cards in hand. I only can push through like 4+ damage, so he can just block it out, and I don't want to waste cards. It's not a great place for me, but he ends up channeling like Frigidating me and just passing the turn. He doesn't have an Arsenal here, but I do have a channel like Frigid, so I have to pay 2 for the Kodachi, which we see here in a second. Yep, 2 for the Kodachi, which sucks. But again, he doesn't have a crown, so he can't Crown of Seeds me. So he's kind of got to take the point of damage, and I end up razoring it here. This is not an ideal target for a razor, obviously, but if he's not gonna defense react it, then I can get basically a free points of damage with this. I hadn't taken that one from the last play, so I took 20. He has a 29. Yeah, so far 40 to 29, not doing too bad. He's not hitting his Oakenolds or like big turns yet, so his Oldhim is a very much like I'm a deck you out Oldhim, not really a Oldhim with a ton of threats. So I didn't expect a whole lot besides Oakenolds. But he's just gonna keep hammering me for 4. Really try to lock me down. And here I'm just trying to keep tempo. If I can still be like 15 life ahead, and start to really pressure him to actually have to use his hand, then, maybe I can get lucky. So trying to save y'all a little bit of time with these plays. So he crowns the Kodachi, and then I play Whelming Gust Wave. This is an odd block for him because I'm trying to force him to block with a card from hand. I don't have a great card, and if he lets this hit, I'm going to pop Breeze. The problem right now with me popping Breeze is if I don't have a lot of resources is I want to force him to. So right there, I was going to pop Breeze because I thought he said like no blocks, no reactions, but he did have a defense react here, and he defense reacts a Whelming Gust Wave, and I started losing a little bit of full here with what he was defense reacting, which is pretty nutty. But overall, I'm trying to force those cards out of his hand so he possibly can't get an Arsenal, and maybe I get lucky and he doesn't block one of these, and I can do kind of a a turn, where I can pop Breeze. But he staunch response a Whelming Gust Wave, which is just nuts. There's not much you can do when the Oldhim is willing to staunch respond to your Whelming Gust Wave, and then he comes in with a Spinal Crush, right? So, sucks for me. I end up blocking 6 here just to prevent the no-go again. I want to try at least Kodachi him a little bit, try to get him down. He doesn't have an Arsenal. So I end up starting with a leg tap on my turn. And luckily I had a leg tap and a Rise and Aetherized. I was able to use Tunic counter for a leg tap and then go into Rise and Aetherized. So I'm doing non-damage without having to pitch a card. Problem with this is he can just block with 2 cards from hand. Still have 1 card left for his next turn. It's not ideal, honestly, for me. But overall, we're not feeling bad. We're still not even close to where we need to be, but we're doing as good as we can do right now. With Katsu, it's kind of weird. Like some people are like pitch stack, pitch stack, pitch stack. But the second I Katsu trigger, my pitch stacking no longer matters. I do want to try to pitch away threats, which I did, like pitching away Blackout Kick, pitching away Hurricane Technique, pitching away Torrent Tempos and stuff like that. But at the same time, like you only can do it but so much because you got to try to push damage when you can and where you can. It's not ideal. So he ends up drawing and passing to me after that full block out, pretty much. And I end up again just Kodachi. He doesn't have an Arsenal, and again, this is one of those things where I wish I would have kept my even bigger than that, because since he doesn't have regular shield, it would have been easier for me to play even bigger than that, and I might have had a chance with some of these plays, but you don't know what they're going to do until they flip their equipment. So, I sided before I saw his equipment, which sucks. Because if I know they're going to play Stalagmite against me, then I'll use even bigger than that. Just will. So he ends up Stalagmite me on the second one to give me a Frostbite, forcing me to have to pitch my McGinty. But again, I'm pinching away like threats that I can go get later, which is fine. And then I just play leg tap for 4. He doesn't want to block, I can tell, with this hand, whatever it is. So I'm trying to make him block, right? I still have 1 card in hand, 1 card in arsenal with 1 resource floating. And it's still on the chain, so he can't block with Stalagmite again. He ends up blocking the last-ditch effort, which now I know he has those in his deck, which is just unreal. And then I soul beat check for 4. So now in order to block this, he either has to commit an equipment and a card or both of his cards. And I'm trying to make him do that. I don't want him to have an arsenal. So he's going to have to give up an equipment block, which is what I'm trying to force out, or both cards. And I force out the equipment block, which is not, and an endless winter, which is nice for me. So he simply arsenal and passes, right? I'm not showing his turns because they're not a whole lot, to be honest with you. But right now we've dealt 12 damage. Still have a high life total, but we're not really worried about our life total this game. We're more worried about decking out. So I play a head jab. He blocks it right away. I did not expect that. I thought he would honestly let the head jab go, but he was like, nah, I'm not letting this go. So at that point, go back to Gadachi, try to make him crown. He does it. He takes the Gadachi. It takes both Gadachis, trying to save his crown. So when he did this, I was like, okay, does he have a Spinal Crush in arsenal? Does he have an Oaken Old in arsenal? Like, why isn't he crowning? Why is he just taking 2 points of damage and letting me now threaten Mask? So my thought process was he either has a defense reaction in arsenal that he doesn't want to waste on a Kadachi, or he has an Oaken Old or something like that. So we end up in lightning striking for 7 here. Really just trying to push through damage, like, because my thought process, if it's a D-react, I want to get out of his arsenal as quick as possible, which it was. And if it's an Oaken Old, like, I'm gonna make him pay for trying to keep it, right? So I dealt 3 points of damage there, not ideal. He has 2 cards in hand, so now he's able to pitch a card, then arsenal a card, which is not honestly what we want. He ends up doing a Frosty Hammer for 4. I'm checking my graves for targets. And I end up blocking with 3 and then 1 from Breeze Rider, so I only have to commit 1 card from hand. So I've used that twice, but like I use those pretty frivolously when I think I have a decent hand, or at least I can push through some damage. He ends up letting that Kadachi go. And again, I'm trying to whittle him down. Like Kadachi, force him to crown, take a point of damage, push through 2 or 3 damage. Like, and then only end up technically using 1 card from hand or 2 cards from hand, right? Only giving up 1 or 2 cards a turn and pitching away the rest and arsenaling away the rest, right? So I had that break time arsenal for a while because I was going to try to get a breeze turn with Rushing River and go get it, but it just didn't work out. He ends up unmovable. I end up razoring the break tide to give it to 5, and then he responds with unmovable, which sucked. Again, he's running 11 defense reactions in this deck, along with all his Ice Earth reacts, along with Crown and Shield. It's hard to push through that damage as a Katsu, to be honest. He ends up drawing and passing. I end up head jabbing again. He blocks the head jab right away. This is one of those where, like, if you're a Katsu player, some people will block you, some people won't on head jabs. I like head jab because people normally don't like to block it. And Oldhim doesn't care if to block it because they can just block for days. But Matt's played my Katsu so much, he knows what that means when I want a head jab. Like, he knows what I'm trying to do because we've just played against each other so much. So it's an auto block for Matt. Like, he's going to block it because he knows what I'm trying to do by, like, setting up breeze turns. Because what I want to do with head jabs, like, let's say I had a head jab in hand with, like, a Rushing River, a Rising Knee Thrust, and let's just say a Blackout Kick. And I get lucky with that, right? Or I have a Blackout Kick in Arsenal, and then Rising Knee Thrust, head jab, Rushing River, and a blue, right? So, you play the head jab, they let the head jab hit, you discard, not even a Blackout Kick, but basically what I'm trying to do, like, that's a bad example. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the head jab to then go combo 2 things together. I guess a better example would be if I had a head jab, a leg tap, a rising, and then like a break tide in hand or break tide in arsenal with a blue, like you could discard and go get like two parts of a combo together and then combo them together and end with like a break tide where you banish and stuff like that. There's just different ways you can do it. It's super useful, but overall, the sequencing in this game was okay. It wasn't my greatest game. It was just a casual game. It wasn't like I was playing for something crazy. And we weren't like heavily testing. Like the second he flipped it, I knew I was probably going to lose, but it was just more of like, I wanted to show viewers this game of like how abysmal this game is. Like as a Katsu, I'm pretty much getting a full grip every time, dealing, 10 to 12 damage a turn minimum, and I can't push the damage through. And he's still gaining an arsenal most turns, so it's very difficult. I end up playing a Soul Bead Strike. He sinks it. I Ancestral it to try to have go again. He double sinks it. Like, it's very frustrating. This is something as a Katsu player, if you're Katsu or a chain, like you have to understand that you have to not get frustrated with these things. And I was getting frustrated because me and Matt are friends. We're competitive. But in an environment like that, like if it happens, just let it roll off your back and keep playing. You can't get upset with it. It's not something that you want to get mad over, right? So we're gonna skip through some stuff here, just considering nothing crazy is happening. So I'll just kind of point out certain plays because I don't want this to be a 50 long minute video for y'all. But watching the Rushing River, or playing the Rushing River again, similar to that Whelming Gust Wave play earlier, where I'm trying to force a bad block because if he lets that hit, then I can pop Breeze Rider Boots and play like multiple combo cards out together and go get a combo card so they all sync together and stuff like that. I've already played my Break Tide at this point, so but he doesn't know how many Break Tides I have. I'm only playing one in this deck. But he ends up Oaken here, and I can cover this up. So, it's not ideal to give up Mask, but I end up doing it here. And my thought process with this is giving up Mask this late, or this early technically is not good, but I'm almost never going to get Mask Trigger. If you're playing an Oldhim who's running all these defense reactions, has Crown and Shield and all that stuff, you're not getting Mask unless you just get this God turn that he can't prevent. So blocking a Mask, preventing the damage all the way, giving up 2 cards from hand, but not giving up any damage is really useful, and it didn't blink my turn. So not ideal, but I still have a 10 life lead. I've actually whittled him down to 23 at this point, and I've used about half my deck. So, I've used a lot of threats, but not all my threats. I still have a good amount at this point. I still have 2 Surging Strikes. I remember this because I checked my grave. I still have 2 Surging Strikes. I still have a Leg Tap. I still have 2 Torrent of Tempos. I still have like 1 Razor and 1 Ancestral and 2 Lunging Presses. So I have ways of figuring this out, right? Of maybe trying to get him into a zone. Because what I want to do is I want to get him down to like 12 life or 10 life to where I can start actually Kadachi locking him. Because he's not using the regular shield and because his shield is now gone, he only can prevent one of my Kadachis without committing a card from hand. So now I'm at the point where like I can actually, like, if I can get him low enough, I can actually put him in a bad spot, right? So this is a cold 4, which I take. I have a Frostbite, but I think I have 2 blues in hand here, so it's not hard for me to pay for it. And I still, even with a Frostbite, if I Kadachi twice, I can pay for both Kadachis with the blue. So it's not too bad. And he doesn't have a crown here. So he can't crown this out. Him not playing the Stalagmite really hurts because if you play against a Katsu, you probably want to play regular shield so you can just block both Kadachis every single turn that you want with crown and shield. So he lets it hit. So since he let it hit, I went ahead and Surging Striked immediately. I had to pitch for this, and we figured this out. I was screwed up. I had to pitch. I forgot about the Frostbite. So if he lets this hit, like that's the second hit, and then go get Whelming, which he's then going to have to block again. So I kind of put him in a weird spot where he's got to commit cards from hand. He does commit 2. And then 100 wins for 3. Go again. He blocks that out. 100 wins again for 4, and he blocks 3. So as you can see right there, I did 7, 12, 13 damage, and I only dealt 1 damage to him. Like, that's just the power of Oldhim. It's pretty nuts. And again, same turn, like nothing crazy here. It's more just me giving ping damage with Kodachis. Ping damage with Kodachis. We're fast forwarding through a lot. This is a 58-minute game. So, like, no one. And not only is it a 58-minute game, but it's a Katsu versus Oldhim. So, like, it's the same turn structure every time. Like, the only spicy thing is, like, the last 5 minutes, and we'll get into that when we get there. But these kind of turns pretty much stayed the same. I had a couple turns like this one where I started with a lightning strike for 5, like forcing him to crown and block right off the bat if he wants to block it out. And he ends up blocking it out. But I did force out equipment block, which is nice. I end up razoring it. And really still not dealing anything. It sucked. I was just trying to cycle my hand. Looking back on it, I made a misplay there, and I should have done a line strike for 7 and then razored it to make it 10. So unless he has like a staunch response or something, like I'm probably going to deal 4 or 5 damage, which would have been really nice in this situation. He comes back with a cold 4. I block 6, which is not ideal. I'm trying to maintain that life lead, so if he hits me with another Oakenold, I have enough life advantage to where I can just kind of take it on the chin. And now we're getting into the grindy part of the matchup where I'm starting to lose threats. I'm about through 3/4 of my deck. I'm not in a great spot. So I'm just trying to keep pitching, like play attacks when I can, but only play like 1 good attack per turn and just keep whittling him down to where I can possibly get him in a weird spot. So again, similar to the last Whelming Gust Wave turn, this is going to force a block out of him. He has to block this because if he doesn't, I'm going to pop Breeze Rider Boots. He ends up unmovabling my Whelming. And this is where me and him had fun banter. And I was like, dude, you're just unmovable to Whelming Gust Wave. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, if I have it, I'm gonna play it. And I get it, but I was getting frustrated at this point after I had seen him unmovable and staunch response to Whelming Gust Waves in a rushing river. Like, it was nuts, man. So we're just keeping at it here. Still with the same game plan of with him having no shield to slowly whittling him down. He takes the second Kodachi here. As you can see, like just slow little chips, and try to keep my deck. You know, he's using a lot of his cards because of D-React. So, you know, he's pitching away cards in order to D-React. So he's not like cycling his deck as much as he wants, and he's not specifically pitch stacking either. So he's not going to have very many threats. He's just kind of playing his threats as he gets them, which doesn't help him either. So we're going through here. We're just checking our graves and stuff. I end up Kodachi, and again, same thing. Like, you could blindfold yourself and know what I'm going to do. I end up blackout kicking. I just wanted to get that out of Arsenal, and he staunches it yet again. It's like the 6th staunch response we've seen. It's right in the full blues, full reds. And then I ended up making a misplay here. I screwed up. This was a bad play on my part. I was just getting frustrated, it being late, and I just didn't play right. So basically, I lunging and breaking and breezed in order to give it go again because it hit. And I had him a Genshi in hand with 1 resource floating on Tunic. And it just completely mind fart blanked to me that I needed to have Whelming Gust Wave prior to McGinty in order to go get Lord of Wind off McGinty hitting. I was just an idiot. And it was just like a stupid like brain fart. I know that play. I know how McGinty works. You have plays like that where you're just like, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So end up playing that, but I did get him down to 9 life. And so at this point, I'm in a bad spot where I only have like 10 cards in the deck at this point, and he has probably about 20. So decking him out's gonna be a little bit hard. But there's a but is like if I can stay up enough in life, I can possibly deck him out. And this sounds really weird, but like he's using so many. Since he doesn't have shield, he's gonna keep taking Kadachi damage, and he's at 9 life. So like in 8 turns, I'm gonna be Brazilian lethal with any Razor or any Ancestral in my deck. So like he's got to keep that in mind. So if I can, you know, get him low enough to where he starts having to commit cards from hand, I might can deck him out. So my game plan for the next, we have 13 minutes left in this game, was to continuously just pitch these Kadachis, force him to block with cards. Either he's going to take 1 damage per turn, or he's going to block with 2 cards for a turn. So, which is what happens. So I just Kadachi twice and passed up, right? I didn't Arsenal a card. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. I've seen 2 Oakenolds already. He only has 1 left. I think he had to block with 1. So there's no Oakenolds left. I've seen all his Endless Winters go away. He doesn't have a lot of threats left in his deck. So this is where I did. So he has Spinal, which I can block out. I not block out, but block 7 of. So blocking 2 cards from hand, only take 2 damage, which turns on. See my go again, still turned on. So now again, I'm going to Kadachi him twice. I'm going to make him either block with 2 cards from hand, or block with a card from hand and crown, or take 1 damage. And just going to start trying to slowly try to Kadachi lock this dude. Him not running crown. If he would have ran shield, he'd be at 20 life right now, and I'd be in bad shape. But him not running shield was a mistake on his part. So you can see his deck versus mine. He obviously has way more cards in his deck. But it's going to get to the point where like I don't care about hammers. I'm going to use my life as a resource at this point and really try to deck him out. These turns is the same thing. It's Kadachi, attack. I still have 2 Torrent Tempos. I still have a Soul Bead Strike. And there's a Soul Bead Strike. Now, I don't deal any damage there, which is not good, but I just made him commit 2 cards for my 1 card, which right now, if you look at our decks on the bottom, we're both about the same, or close to the same now. I'm starting to catch him. So if he keeps having to pitch away, he pitched that last ditch effort. Like, he uses that in his deck, I swear. It's so funny. And see, on a turn like this is a perfect example where I pitch and Kadachi, and he blocked with a card. So right now I have card advantage. I just gained 1 card advantage. And I pitch it here. Yep, he Ice Earth. He Blizzard me, which I ended up paying the 2 for, and then he Ice Earth reacted me, making me prevent the damage and put a card top on my deck. So here, a turn like this, where I only give up 1 card, he gave up 3. So I got a 2 card advantage off that 1 turn and dealt 1 point of damage from my Kadachi. And we're just repeating the process at this point. He has no arsenal, so now he has to commit cards from hand to prevent these Kadachis, and that's where I start catching him. As you can see, his deck, he has almost the same as me. Very close to decking him out. And that's how the rest of this game went. I'm not gonna belate it, but what happened was we went the next 10 minutes, and I took a couple icy hammers and used my life as a resource. And as you can see, he's down to 4 cards. I'm down to 3 cards. Or 4. We're down the same amount of cards. The problem is, since he kept, and I'll stop it here. So I end up losing to this because he kept looking at his pitch zone. He kept an ice card and an earth card. So he can basically, what he can do is as long as he arsenals, he can crown and he can earth react to prevent both my Kadachis every single turn. And because now at this point, with only having like 4 cards left, I think I have 3 blues and like 1 other card. There's no way I'm going to be able to push 5 points of damage if he can just keep earth reacting and pitching for crown. I just don't have the attacks left in my deck to do it. So he ends up beating me here. He was going to deck me out, and we got to the point where I tried to to get to him, but I have literally 2 cards in hand. He has 3 cards in hand, and he's going to be able to Earth React every single time. So there's nothing I can do to push through those last few Kadachis. But overall, good game. It gives you a good idea of like the slow burn it is with Oldhim. I didn't want to go too far in this game. It was a 58-minute game. I condensed this video down to 30. I just didn't want y'all to watch 58 minutes of Kadachi attack. Like, that's just not fun for anyone. But I wanted to give new players an idea of how abysmal this matchup looks just based off how much damage he can mitigate. If you're an Oldhim player out there, I feel bad saying this because it shouldn't be a secret. You don't use Slagmite against a Katsu. Unless you're an aggro Oldhim and you're trying to keep cards in hand by preventing him from pitching, it's just not going to work. Definitely use Crown against a Katsu, or use the regular shield against Katsu. It's just better. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this. A little bit of a bridge version of gameplay, but I wanted to kind of give you all an idea of how it looked. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to. If not me, go to our Fleshbird career, do the same thing for them so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank y'all so much.